Good morning, everyone. Happy bank holiday. I hope you're all well. Thank you all for joining me again so bright and early. I'm going to try and do something daily if I can over the coming weeks, just because I know the season's now done and people are looking forward, I'm sure, to the Euros. But there is going to be a lot of transfer news and a lot of transfer news just for not just for Arsenal, but for all of the clubs in the Premier League. So I want to do a little bit of something to round it up as best that I can. I'm going to talk about Arsenal this morning. Going to talk about Xavi Simons. We're going to talk about a player that perhaps Mikel Arteta has signed only in January of last year, that might be on the move if an offer was to come in. We're going to talk a little bit about incomings. We're going to talk a little bit about the manager market as well, because there's lots of changes in relation to Chelsea, Manchester United. Going to touch on the playoffs yesterday and what that means for the Premier League next season. And we're going to get your understanding of the England squad and what we believe should be the starting England 11 moving into the Euros. So plenty to talk about this morning. Make sure you do me a favor, hit the like button, hit subscribe. We're getting close to 20k, and I really want to hit it by the time that we get to the Euros. So let's make sure that we hit 20k in time for England to start playing football. Hit the like button, hit subscribe. Two of those things are absolutely free to do. You don't have to do anything but 2 clicks of a button, and then just come back into the chat and join the likes of Jake. Good morning. Sustainable Shooter, good morning. Ash, good morning. Lego, good morning. Junior, good morning. Thank you all for being here and supporting the channel. Much appreciated. Listen, let's talk a little bit about the transfer market at the moment, because, of course, the rumours are going to come flooding in now that the window is being spoken about. Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein, and then there's other names that people will throw at you. They'll always come out every day with rumours, and all I do is discuss them. I don't know on this channel anybody that's an ITK. So whenever I share information, that is all it is. I don't have any ITK that tells me that X, Y, Z is happening and so is coming to Arsenal. We're selling so and so. It's not that anybody has told me any information. So I want to make that right, because there's quite a lot of people that like to think that they're ITKs and they like to say that their channel is reliable with information. I just share what's out there. So I wake up in the morning and say, right, what's happening with Arsenal? Oh, wow. Okay, didn't expect that. And we'll talk about it. And that's what this channel is going to be. I'm not one of those kind of guys who says I know more than you. I don't. I have no link into the club whatsoever. I know as many people as most of you do within Arsenal Football Club. And if I'm honest with you, I can't really understand why people want to be known as ITKs, because football changes so quickly. So I don't really understand that one. But listen, that's just me. ITK stands for in the know. For those of you that don't know, I know Ash is asking. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Ash has said in the chat as well, about the rumours of Marcus Rashford. I mean, wow, Marcus Rashford and Arsenal. Can you believe that that is actually a rumour? Wow, not for me, but we'll go into why in a sec. Let's talk a little bit about Xavi Simons, shall we? Because it's a player I've mentioned quite a lot on here. I know in the chat earlier, in the last few streams that we've done, people are really interested in hearing about what Xavi Simons' future is. Well, Fabrizio Romano has suggested that his future will be spoken about before the Euros. Now, obviously, he's at PSG. They'll sit down. They'll have a chat about where they see his future. Is it at PSG or is it away from the club? Now, Arsenal are a club that I know have been looking around him over the years. It's a player I know a lot of people would be massively interested in us signing. I think he'd be a magnificent signing. I think he'd be huge for us. I think he'd be a player who comes in a number of positions, not just centrally to kind of give Erdegaard some competition and cover, but also I think he can play right and left, from what I've seen anyway at Leipzig. He's had a very successful season at Leipzig. They're interested apparently in renewing and keeping him on loan. But Romano has said that a loan deal would be suitable from his understanding from PSG. Now, would you want Arsenal to sign Xavi Simons on loan? The only way that I would allow that to happen is if we've got an obligation to buy at the end of it. What I wouldn't want is to Arsenal to sign Xavi Simons, him have a fantastic season, and then have to go back. That would be frustrating for me. I don't think we're at that size of that club anymore where we just take a little bit of the best players and then have to send them back and make them better. For me, I think he's suited to the Premier League. I love his flair. I think his creativity is there. I think that he's got drive on the ball. I think he's a flair player that has a little bit of that tenacity. He's one of those players that when you get him on the ball and he turns and he drives forward, you get excited. You know, he's an exciting talent. And I like players like that. that bring that energy to the team. And I think Martinelli's a little bit like that. And I know people are looking at him at the moment saying that he's had a poor season, but there's no denying that every time he gets on the ball, he gets the crowd up. And I think that's the sort of player that Xavi Simons is, that when you see him on the ball, you get excited. And that's why I like him. I would love to see him at Arsenal. I think he'd be a phenomenal signing. I don't know what the price would be. I imagine PSG will probably want something mad, something that was, I don't know, anywhere between 45 million and 60 million, I imagine, for this player. Maybe more. I don't know. I'm just guessing now. But it looks like Romano is confident, excuse me, that PSG would look to loan him out again. Now, that's mad for me because I think PSG just either need to sell him or actually play him. None of this keep loaning him out to places because he was on loan, if you remember, at PSV where Arsenal recognised him. Arsenal played against him in the Europa League. He was in the group stage and I thought, this guy's a good player. Who is he? Where's he come from? Young talent from Holland. I thought, yeah, do you know what? Let's take a look at him. Following his journey, going on loan again the following season to Leipzig, again a successful loan period. I think it's time for Arsenal to get involved in that. I really do. Couple of clubs that are involved or interested in Xavi Simons as well. I'm not sure how interested Arsenal would be, but it's certainly a player that I think the fans would really enjoy. So I'm kind of hoping that we get to a stage where we are one of the names in for Xavi Simons. So keep an eye on that one. I think Xavi Simons will be available and his future looking to be decided before the Euros begins. So that's going to be one that we need to keep an eye out. And hopefully Mikel Arteta and Edu are a fan. We're going to talk a little bit about a shock signing or a shock player that could be up for sale. It might not come as a shock to some, but it has kind of to me this morning. The Athletic are apparently reporting that we could, if an offer comes in for him, offload Jakub Kiwior. Now, I think the defender's been really good. When he's been called upon in the last few weeks of or months of the season, he's been fairly good. And I know that he had that mistake against Bayern Munich. And since then, he's kind of been shipped out the side. And we haven't really seen much of him. He's been a player that sometimes comes on to see a game out, as Mikel Arteta used to do, if you remember, with Rob Holding. I wasn't really a fan of him at left back until Ben White started inverting. Actually, I've quite liked him. I think he's a good defender. I do. I don't think he's an unbelievable ball playing defender. I think he can play football, but I don't think it's to the level of somebody like Saliba when he's on the ball in terms of how comfortable he is. I don't think he's the level of Ben White. But I certainly think as a youngster of 21, 22, I think he could be a player that definitely we should keep in this squad. And I think if you're going to get rid of him, Gabriel then needs some cover. So all I can think about this one is that we're trying to get some form of money for players that potentially we can then go and put towards others. But how much are we going to realistically get for Jakub Kiwior? We've signed him for 20 million. I don't know that we're going to get double that or even 30 million for him offered. So I think it's better to keep him and use him as a left back, left centre back. Personally, I'll be very surprised if we was to actually sell him for anything that come anywhere unless it come close to 35, 40 million. Because let's be real, we don't need to. We need him. And maybe Yoel Harto being linked, Ajax, 18-year-old, left-sided centre-back, left-back. Maybe that means that he believes he's the guy he wants in ahead of Jakub Kiwior, but it would be a very strange signing if we was to get rid of him. So the Athletic aren't reporting he's definitely leaving, but they're saying that he could be one of the players that we're listening to offers for, because that's really good money if we get 35, 40 million, I think, for him. But unless we get that, I'd rather keep him. Like, I'm not looking at Jakub Kiwior and thinking, yeah, he's one that's got to go. He's been a liability. He's been awful. I liked him when he came in at centre-back. When he came in at left-back in the earlier part of the season, if you remember, against Fulham and the games that we started to really slip up against, he did look poor. But he was asked to invert. And I don't know why Arteta ever did that or ever thought he was going to be able to do that, because it was clear Ben White had to do that role. And when he did, Kiwior got a little bit better. Now, the one thing I would question, when he first come to Arsenal, Kiwior, he broke the record set by Bellerin and Theo Walcott and Thierry Henry and all the others for pace, and apparently blitzed them all. With pace, just running 100 meters, he's amazing, apparently. I haven't seen that on the pitch. I've got to say. And it's a player that when he first come on the scene, I thought, oh, yeah, no, he is quick, isn't he? Recovery pace, maybe. I don't really see much of it. Like, I've seen him get skinned. I've seen him get taken the ball past quite a bit. I've seen him beaten for pace. So it's not really a player I look at that and is known for being electric pace. And I just wanted to know your thoughts because I look at it and I think, is that me then? Because I'm looking at it thinking I can see why he's broken records. And then I'm like, no, I don't think I can actually. I've seen him beat him quite a few times. And against Bayern Munich, Sane had him on absolute toast. I mean, it was actually quite a poor first half for him. If you remember, came off at the Emirates, didn't start again, really, kind of shipped out. And Arteta does this sometimes with players. If you notice, it's kind of like they don't get much of a chance with him, unless you're his favourite. If you're a Kai Havertz signing, who he clearly saw the vision with, you stick with it, you stick with it, you stick with it, you stick with it, and then you put him up top and he flies. Why does he not do that with other players? Do you know what I mean? Like, why does Kiwior have a good 3 months, then make a mistake, and then we don't see him again? Like, it's really like so chop and change sometimes with Mikel Arteta. You can't understand that there's no consistency with the players, is what I'm trying to get at. Sometimes I think his man management has been extremely ruthless and harsh. Right back to his early days where Pepe got sent off and he called him a disgrace. Xhaka got sent off and he said he's just a little bit overpassionate sometimes. He's done the same with Maitland-Niles. Just never saw him again. Man of the match. Haven't seen him since. Lokonga playing. No, now no good. Goes on loan. Tavares subbed in the first 35 minutes against Forest, if you remember that. Like, he does some strange things. Some of them are needed because they were ruthless, but you just want to see sometimes a little bit of consistency. And I would think it's fair to say that Kiwior was treated a little bit bad at times this season. Season before that, Trossard, I think he was treated quite badly. So yeah, he's ruthless, man. He's a ruthless guy. And then you look at the Ramsdale Raya situation, completely ruthless. So yeah, I'm a fan of it when it is needed, but there needs to be an understanding of consistency. I think it's good that the players know that the manager doesn't take any BS, right? That's really good. And I think as long as there's a respect and understanding there, it doesn't cause massive rift within the dressing room. It's really good. So I just think there needs to be a level of consistency there. Now, I'm not saying Jacob Kiwior wants to leave Arsenal when he's unhappy and he thinks Arteta's been out of order to him, but you could understand why he would be a player that we would look at selling from what Arteta has shown from his man management of him. So I can understand why this is being spoken about personally. So there we go. Now let's talk about it. Yesterday, I had to look at my phone and blink a few times to see if this was actually the case. But there are some rumours reporting Marcus Rashford talking or having talks with Mikel Arteta. Now, there's a few reports that suggest that it's a quite a weak source. But Football London, Football 365, Sports Mole, Caught Offside, all those kind of, I don't know how to be too polite, ones that you don't go to for massive reliable sources. Let me say that. They're suggesting that it might be the case that Marcus Rashford and Arteta have been talking and that we might be going in for him. Now, I think this is not going to happen. One, I don't think left wing is a role that we're looking at. Two, because I think it is a madness how much he's on. 375k a week Marcus Rashford is on. And thirdly, I think there's other areas of the squad that we need to look at, man. Like, we need a priority striker, not somebody like Rashford. Now, a lot of people would say that they will take Marcus Rashford because they think that they can get the best out of this 17, 18-year-old who was on the scene almost 10 years ago now. Yeah. Marcus Rashford is 27 this year. This is mad. It's absolutely mad to say he's got a lot of potential. He's 26, moving on 27. There is no way you can look at that and think that that is an unbelievable project of a 26-year-old. Now, people will say, well, look at Havertz. He's 24, going 25. Yeah, completely different, because only a couple of years ago, he was winning the Champions League and at Bayern Leverkusen had some skills that people looked at to say he's a great signing for Chelsea. Marcus Rashford has been very up and down for the best part of 7 or 8 years now. Like, I think between the ages of 17 and 21, he looked like he was going to be a talent. I never, and I must say this, I never believed he was going to be elite Thierry Henry levels, ever. I never thought he would be recognised at Manchester United when he retired as a Ronaldo, Van Nistelrooy, Giggs, Rooney, Beckham, Cantona type. But I did think he'd be an all right player. He's just not for me. I'll tell you why Marcus Rashford is not for me. He has 1 or 2 good seasons, but he never has it consistently. Last season, before the one just gone, he got 15 goals and everybody said he's the best left back in the league. And I thought, you know what? I can go with that. Him and Martinelli were absolutely flying. His mentality, however, is a shambles. It is literally like something from the Conference League. I can't stand the fact that he has not been the one. Like, at Manchester United, when you're a Manchester boy, when you're loved, when you're the poster boy, you should be the one that is rallying the troops, not the one going out getting drunk, not the one getting the hump, not the one falling out with people, not the one not trying on the pitch, not the one coming out saying you don't dare question my commitment to Manchester United and then just allow Ross Barkley to just walk past you while you're walking on the pitch. That to me is really poor. The mentality of him is just not elite level. He's too nice as well. He's on the floor. He doesn't have that bite, that nastiness to him. He doesn't have that kind of um, not shithousery even, just like leave a foot in. He's just a nice guy. And I'm cool for nice people in football. But I don't particularly want all these nice guys to be playing. We've been struggling with too many nice guys over the last decade. That's what we've done. Yeah. Too many nice guys that get pushed off the ball. Marcus Rashford, for me, is not somebody I look at as being a top club signing. And I think if he was to come to Arsenal, where does he play? Because he can't play as a striker. He can't play on the right. It means he has to play on the left. So for me, that is a player that doesn't get first team football, that would want at least 300k a week, that probably is going to try to displace Martinelli and Trossard. Just a waste of money. And it would cost probably 50 million plus. I just think this would be a poor signing. So I hope it's absolute rumour. Of course, as I said to you, let's take a look where they're coming from. AFC Camden is one that's reporting it on Twitter. Football London, the Daily Mail, Court Offside, Sports Mole, and Football 365. None of those for me are massively rumoured to be reliable sources, and that's where it's coming from. But I don't believe that that's a good signing for Arsenal. I don't look at that and go, I'd rather have him instead of an Isak. Or I'd rather look at that position instead of a central midfielder. Or, Rashford as a left winger would be a brilliant signing for Arsenal. That would take us forward. No, I think Martinelli's better. I have to say it. I think Martinelli's better. I look at Rashford's stats. I think Rashford's stats are pretty okay. Let me just look at them. What's Rashford's stats been like in the last few years, right? So there we go, people. There we go. So this sums up why I would not have him, okay? When he came onto the scene, he got 5 goals, then another 5 goals, and another 7 goals. But he was like 17, 18, 19 then, right? So you can understand why he's not tearing it up at that stage. In his 20s, he got into double figures of 10 goals in 2018-19. Fair enough, but that's nothing to be amazed by. Then he got 17 goals in 1920. Was that the COVID season? Yeah. And everyone said, this player's found his form again. Then he shot down to another 10 goals in 2020. Season after that, he got 4 goals. Then he had that good season last season. He got 17 goals. This season, he got 7 goals. So I don't look at that and think, wow, this is a player that's just ready to explode here. He's just being held back. He's just been badly managed. He's not settled. Listen, he's got the most money at Manchester United. He is loved by most of the people because of where he comes from. He is a player that has done a lot outside of the footballing community that has been very, very well highly praised. This guy should be settled. This guy should have nothing about his play that should allow him not to flourish. Now, I understand that there's problems at United and in the background, but let's be real. You can look at some of the players in the last few years and go, do you know what? At least they're giving it a go. At least they're trying. They've got the right attitude. Even Harry Maguire. I know this is a mad thing to say, but if you look at all of the players at Manchester United, Harry Maguire actually isn't one of the problems. Yeah. Harry Maguire's mentality actually isn't that bad. But Marcus Rashford's, I think, is. I think he's one of the players I would look to try and sell if I was Manchester United. And if he was that great, like people want, why would they look to get rid of him? Why? I don't think this is a good signing, guys. I'm sorry. I think it would be a really poor signing, in fact. I don't get what would be so special about Marcus Rashford here. Some people think that Mikel Arteta would be able to flourish him or get the best out of him and all this. I don't want any projects like that. I want someone to come into Arsenal and be ready right now. And Alexander Isak would, Bruno Gomares would, De Jong would, Victor Osimhen, Victor Gyökeres, all these guys that we're linked with in the top areas of the pitch. I'd much rather have them. Do you know what? I'd rather sign Xavi Simons than Marcus Rashford, because Xavi Simons can do a job left, right, and centre. Marcus Rashford has got one position, and some don't even know if he really is a winger. So how can this guy get to nearly 27 years old and nobody actually know where he really is best to be playing? Could he play in a 4-4-2 up top? Could he play out wide? Could he play on the right? And is it like, I don't get all this. Why are we not ready to be playing in a proper position now? So listen, left wing is his position, right? But I can think of a lot of left wingers that are better than him in the league. Like, real talk. I wouldn't play him for England. I can see why he's not been picked for England. I think it would be a stupid signing. And I want Martinelli to go to that next level, and I think he will. With Marcus Rashford there, ain't going to happen. So I pray this one does not happen. It's a nice segue into the England side. I wanted to touch on this very quickly before we look at some of the incomings. I'm okay with Southgate's provisional squad, if I'm honest with you. I don't think there's anybody there that I look at and go, "Cool, that's harsh. Leaving him out's harsh, X, Y, Z." But I honestly believe there's no excuses now for Gareth Southgate to get this team, which, let's be real, is probably one of the best teams we've had in a while, across the line. Now, a lot of people have asked me this, so I'm going to go into it. What would my 11 be? There's a couple of options you can do with this England 11 because it's so strong now in terms of its depth. We've got a few options. I think there's what I think it will be and what I believe it should be. There's two different things. Gareth Southgate is very different in the way I'm thinking about football as most of the fan base. He seems to like somebody in that midfield that's a little bit of a warrior, that's someone that you think is a workhorse that doesn't actually really suit most people's 11s that are in there. Mason Mount over the years, Jordan Henderson over the years, Calvin Phillips over the years. I think he's probably going to look to do that again with one player that I'll mention in a minute. But for me, I think it will be Pickford in goal that Gareth Southgate goes with. I think the back four that he will pick, if everybody is fit, will be Kyle Walker right back, Shaw left back, Maguire and Stones. In midfield, I think he'll play a midfield three of Rice, Gallagher and Bellingham. That might sound mad to you because I would not do that. I just think it will be somebody like that in there. And then a front three, I think, will be Foden, Saka and Kane. Now, what would I do? It would be different to that. It would be different to that. First of all, I thought maybe Cole Palmer could get in there. First of all, I thought maybe Kobbie Mainoo should get in there. And I'm kind of flipping between those two. On form, for me, I would always go with England squads that are on form. An England team I would pick, it'd have to be Pickford in goal. I would go with Trent. Not a lot of people like him at right back, but I think he's been phenomenal this year. Left back, I'd actually go with Joe Gomez because he's been better and fitter than Shaw and Chilwell. The two centre halves I would go with would be Branthwaite and Stones because of the form that they've been on. In midfield, I would do one of two things. I would either go with Rice and Bellingham together and then Cole Palmer in front of them, or I would go with Rice and Mainoo and Bellingham in front of them. And you could switch, chop and change that for whatever games you wanted. Then the front three, Saka, Foden, and, of course, Kane. Now, the other thing people will say is you've got to play a left winger out there so Foden can come in front. But I don't know how we do that. Who plays left wing then? Gordon? Or Palmer, does he go left? Or Saka go left and put Palmer right? Like, where's the left wing option if Foden is playing in the middle? That's why I think he'll play left, if I'm honest with you. So it'll be interesting to see what Gareth Southgate goes with. Unfortunately, I just don't see Foden, Bellingham, Rice in the middle. And I would not be surprised if Conor Gallagher played. That's the sort of player he likes. Look back to what Southgate teams have been. They have had a Calvin Phillips in there where you're like, what? Jordan Henderson, you're scratching your head. Mason Mount, used to love him when he was playing at Chelsea. I just don't really see how he doesn't pick somebody like that. He might surprise me. He might put in there in the middle and go, do you know what? Like, fair play. Kobbie Mainoo starts or Bellingham starts with Rice and then you put Foden up there. I don't know. It might be a surprise. Cole Palmer hasn't really played anywhere but central or right wing, so I don't see him going left wing. I don't. So yeah, it'll be interesting, and it's not long, people, not long until we see that happening. Um, so let's look at what's happening incoming wise at Arsenal. Not a lot to report other than the fact that we are still looking at midfield and, of course, the number 9 position has been our 2 priority areas. And a lot of people have said, but we need X, Y, Z. We know we're going to need a backup goalkeeper. Newcastle have renewed their interest in Aaron Ramsdale. Now, I know that they want, I'm not even going to try and butcher his name, the Valencia goalkeeper from Georgia. I do know that for a fact they're looking at either him or Aaron Ramsdale. But the reason Newcastle have been interested in Aaron Ramsdale is because Eddie Howe loves him. He had him at Bournemouth. He thought he was a talent. And a lot of the Bournemouth fans, I know for a fact, would take him back in a heartbeat. But I think Newcastle are a team that are interested in a new goalkeeper because Pope, his injury that's kept him out, there's rumours that he might not come back to fully fitness because of it, and they're worried about Nick Pope. So a goalkeeper is definitely an option for Newcastle, and they're looking to get a number 1 goalkeeper to have Pope as number 2, is what I'm being told by Newcastle fans. And Ramsdale is one of those. Now, I don't know if they're going to go for the Valencia goalkeeper instead of him. I think Bournemouth fans will probably be absolutely praying that happens so that they can try and get Ramsdale back. But I don't know if he would go to a club that isn't in the top 6. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I think Ramsdale would see it as a backwards move if he wasn't to go anywhere. Like a Newcastle would be a sideways move for him potentially, because Newcastle and Arsenal, I think, will be challenging in the near future at the top of the table. I think anywhere like that would be seen as more of a sideways move than a backwards move for Aaron Ramsdale. Chelsea, Manchester United are all going to be fighting in the Champions League places or European places. So that's where I think his preferred option would be. Hell, he might even stay at Arsenal. Who knows? But I think Ramsdale wants to play first team football. I think he'd get ahead of Pope for Newcastle. I think he'd get in the Chelsea side. Manchester United, he could probably fight with that Onana, who I think has been poor. So maybe he's looking at those options. So we're going to have to see what happens with Ramsdale. So a new goalkeeper is going to come in at the club. I've said yesterday, and I'll stand by, I would go with a number 1 goalkeeper and give Raya the chance to be competitive himself, like Ramsdale's had to be. But I think he's going to be number 1, and we're going to get a backup. Whether it's going to be Justin Bilo over at Feyenoord, whether it's going to be Szczesny, I don't know. Defensively, I've mentioned already that we're linked with Jorel Hato from Ajax, a player who I think can play pretty much across the back 4, which would be good for versatility. More of a left-sided centre-back, though, and left-back. So that's why I mentioned the Kiwior rumours about if he was to go, maybe there is something to it if Jorel Hato is going to be linked with Arsenal. In midfield, it's clear that we need a number 8. It's clear that we need a 6 or an 8 or both. And I would actually say that we would probably be looking at getting both players in if Thomas Partey does go. Now, there's rumours from Romano that he might leave. So, of course, we're then looking at 2 options. Yusuf Fofana would be a great shout as a box-to-box midfielder. Between 20 and 30 million he's available for. That's actually a steal. That really is a steal. Like, I'm a big, big fan of Yusuf Fofana. And I think what he'd bring to Arsenal is a little bit of steel as well. I think that is actually a player that I look at that I think you'd actually be able to do well with Arsenal and give some physical presence for what I think would be needed in that midfield along with Rice. He's 25 years old at Monaco. They're saying he's available. I don't know if there's a release clause. Some people have mentioned with that. I don't really do these release clauses. I think some of them are just rumoured. But there is potential for us to be going in for him. He's saying he wants Champions League football, which would obviously be something Arsenal could offer him. And I think for 20 to 25 million, as people are reporting, that is just an absolute steal. So I'd be a massive, massive fan of this signing. I also believe there's links between some of the other options we've had across the winter, which of course is Zubimendi. Gone very quiet on that. The release clause of, I think it's 50 million. Is something that I've just not heard Arsenal been interested in over the last few months. So it's something that we're, I believe, debating over. But the one I think that is clear that we all want is Bruno Guimaraes. Now, I honestly believe if he does leave Newcastle, it will be for Arsenal or City. I don't think he wants to go abroad from what we hear. And there's 2 things to talk about with just quickly with Arsenal and City. For those that didn't hear what I said, it was either yesterday or the stream before. He's got to decide whether he wants Arsenal or City. Now, everyone will say it was City. The only thing that he might look at is what's happening with Pep Guardiola. There's reports today that Pep might be off after this coming season. 90% sure is the person that I know from Man City that he's leaving. So does he want to sign for Manchester City because of Pep, knowing that he might go after next year? That's what I'm clinging on to. Now, he might stay at Arsenal. I have absolutely no idea. Like, he might stay at Newcastle, sorry. He might stay at Newcastle. I don't know if they want to sell him. I don't know. Actually, I know for a fact they don't want to sell him. But it really depends on whether he wants to go or not. So, does Bruno Guimaraes want to leave Newcastle? I don't know. Does Manchester City and Arsenal tempt him? I believe so. But he's got to want to come to Arsenal for me. And the Brazil link's there. Edu's a big fan. We can do the deal over 3 installments, which isn't very good for Newcastle, but that's a stupid thing as well, by the way. Why is that a clause in the contract? £100 million being paid over 3 years. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And it's a shame because I really like Newcastle. A lot of people know from my channel that follow me a lot that know that I've got a lot of time for them. I think their fan base is fantastic. I think they deserve everything they've got in the last couple of years, particularly over the last 10, 15 they had under Mike Ashley, which was a disaster. And I think it will be a shame that Isak and Bruno are both players that people are now looking at. They'll want to keep hold of both of them. I think they'll keep hold of Isak. I don't think he'll stay there forever unless Newcastle start winning Premier Leagues in the next 2-3 years. But that's going to be hard for them. But Bruno, I think, has already had a couple of years there, and without European football now, he's going to want to go. Like, you can't keep a player like that of that quality and not play European football. Like, 1 game a week, he's not going to want to do it. You know, at 26, he's at the best of his career. He's got to go, in my opinion. So I think when you look at it, Arsenal were linked with him previously. He was interested in coming, but we pulled out of it. I don't know why. Why did we pull out of Bruno Guimaraes, by the way? Absolutely crazy to pull out from that deal. And I think that it would be a player that we would look at as being an absolute monster in midfield for us. Bruno, Rice and Ødegaard. I mean, I don't know a better midfield than that, if I'm honest with you, in the Premier League. Probably only City and Arsenal can compete. Everyone else has kind of gone down a level massively in their midfield, if that happens. So that's where I'm at with Bruno. And then, of course, the number 9. I think if we got a number 9, Jesus could play on right wing to cover Saka. I'd keep Jesus 100%. And then we go all out for a centre forward. Now, 84 million release clause of Victor Gyökeres, 112 million for Victor Osimhen. You're going to get a much cheaper deal for somebody like an Ivan Toney. Dusan Vlahovic is somebody that people keep mentioning, saying that they would like him and would have liked him the other year. Boniface is someone over that people are mentioning as a young striker. Sesko as another striker. We're drying up, though, people. And I said this yesterday. Where are the number 9s? There's not many. And so many people want a number 9. But where the hell are they? And that's the problem we've got. Christian says Simmons is electric. Would love that deal. Yet mentioned that earlier. Craig, big Newcastle fan, says Bruno's already not back Arsenal. We signed him in January. He had a choice to wait and sign for Arsenal in the summer, but he didn't. We actually don't know why, but we decided not to go with it, and that was a stupid decision. Just as it was with Isak, who I said we should have signed, but everybody was quite happy to keep hold of Eddie. Bizarre. Arsenal says big next season for Arteta. He has to win a trophy or has to go. A lot of people are saying that as well. Me, Jacobs, says Xavi, Isak, and De Jong. Wow. I mean, that would be a fantastic summer window, wouldn't it? Let's be real. Nathan, big up to yourself, brother, says, I want Toney or Isak. I want a striker that wouldn't need time settling in. That, for me, is absolutely key. And I don't think it's just a striker. I think it's all these players that we're bringing in now. It's okay to bring in youth projects and sign them on loan, sell them on loan, or put them within the team. That's absolutely fine. But for me, signing somebody of 19 years old is just like, nah, that ain't going to be doing us anything right now. I need somebody that's going to walk into that team and is going to take us to that next level, like a Declan Rice, like I think what Timber will do. Even Kai Havertz, to be fair, and Raya, at least they came in and were ready in the first team. It wasn't like they need 2 or 3 seasons. They need maybe a loan move. They need X, Y, Z, like Marquinhos or Lokonga or Tavares. None of those signings anymore, man. We can't be dealing with it. We just can't be. It can't be happening no more. So that's where I'm at there. Guys, we're going to leave it there. It's been an absolute pleasure. Before we do that, there's 500 people in here, man. Let me check how many likes we got. Let's see. 111. Come on, people. I don't like to beg for likes. I don't ever beg for money, right? Don't ever beg for super chats. but I am going to beg for likes, because likes make it so much easier for us to get moved forward as a channel in terms of promotion. So please hit the like button and please hit subscribe. We've got to try and get to 20k before the Euros, and I'm very confident that we can do it. Big up to my mum in the chat. Can't rely on number 29 up front. Not a fan, are you, mum? Igal, big up to Igal. Xavi Simons to sign on loan. Where did you hear that? Fabrizio Romano is suggesting that he will be signing potentially on loan. If you go back, Igal, I did mention it right at the start of the stream. Not for Arsenal, I might add, but for he's going to be able to sign on loan potentially again. PSG are going to try to look at his future before the Euros. So would you like Xavi Simons at Arsenal? I personally would. I think he'd be a fantastic signing. I really do rate him. I think he'd be a talent. 149 likes, people. Come on, let's get that up to 250. There's 500 of you in here still, so make sure that we're hitting the like button and we're subscribing. Please make sure you do me a favor as well. If you would like one of these behind me that are on the wall, these canvas, then please go into the link in the description and email russellhogphotography@hotmail.com. You'll be able to get one of these. They're in red and white, they're in yellow and blue. They're beautiful. So make sure you get them. If you're a Gooner, drop him an email, say Dan Potts sent me, I'm a Gooner, and he'll sort you one out for you to hang on your wall. So make sure that you go there as well. Brendan Honeybet's Patreon link is in the description as well if you are interested in a bet at the weekend. So please make sure that you are into that and sharing their bets as well. And of course, make sure that you do us a favor, people, and look at our Bet Football Prizes. Football Prizes is the sponsor of this channel, and it's one that I think you need to get hold of. There is unbelievable amounts of prizes that you can win, and I think it's well worth a couple of quid for some of these prizes that are on show right now. If you are a football fan of any club, there is an unbelievable opportunity for you to win some prizes. So please make sure you head over to footballprizes.co.uk and you can check out some of those raffle prizes. Make sure that you are in with a shout. They are literally £2, £3, £1, different prizes. You've got legend shirts. You've got unbelievable opportunities for some of the clubs that you support. There's also boxing prizes. There's also horse racing prizes that you can win. Formula One prizes as well. Footballprizes.co.uk and go check it out, people. Listen, that's us, all from us. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. I'll be back tomorrow. And as always, up the Arsenal. Latest, people.